The phone call came on November 10th at 7:32 a.m., just as I was reviewing the score for Mahler's Fifth Symphony in my apartment overlooking Central Park. "David, it's Dad." "Morning." I set down my baton, marking my place in the score. "What's up?" "About Thanksgiving. Your brother and I were talking and we think it might be better if you sit this one out this year." I stopped. "What?" "Ethan's wife just closed a $200 million real estate development in Brooklyn. It's the biggest deal of her career. She's bringing her business partners to Thanksgiving. These are serious people. CEOs, investors, city planning commissioners." He paused. "You play music for a living, David. It's just not the same league. We don't want any awkward conversations about career disparities." I looked at the Mahler score on my music stand. At the wall of my study lined with recordings, awards, framed programs from concerts at Carnegie Hall, the Vienna Musikverein, the Royal Albert Hall. At the 3 Grammy nominations, certificates mounted in simple frames. "I conduct music," I said quietly. "There's a difference. Conducting, playing, whatever. The point is, Ethan's wife is a major player in New York real estate. You're in the arts. It's just different levels of success." He sighed. "Don't make this difficult. We'll do something later, just us. Maybe in December." "Does Ethan know you're calling?" It was his idea. He doesn't want Vanessa to feel like she has to make small talk with someone outside her professional sphere. Vanessa Chen, my brother's wife of 2 years. I'd met her exactly 3 times. At their engagement party, the wedding, and one family dinner 6 months ago where she'd spent the entire meal on her phone negotiating a property deal. Each time Ethan introduced me, he'd said the same thing. "This is my brother David. He's a musician. Not conductor. Not music director of the New York City Symphony Orchestra. Just musician." "Understood," I said. "Enjoy your Thanksgiving." "Don't be like that." I hung up. For a long moment I sat there looking at the score. Mahler's Fifth. One of the most complex, emotionally devastating pieces in the symphonic repertoire. I'd been preparing it for 3 months for our concert series that would run from November 20th through December 8th. The New York City Symphony Orchestra. 96 musicians under my direction. A $47 million annual budget. A subscription base of 12,000 season ticket holders. International tours to Berlin, Tokyo, London, Paris. And my father thought I played music. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother Ethan. "Ethan, Dad told you about Thanksgiving. Sorry it has to be this way. Vanessa's worked really hard for this deal. Can't have distractions. Me, I understand." I didn't elaborate. Didn't explain. Didn't defend myself. I'd learned years ago that my family didn't understand what I did. When I'd been appointed assistant conductor of the Boston Symphony at 26, Mom had asked when I was going to get a real job with benefits. When I'd been named music director of the New York City Symphony at 32, Dad had asked if that came with a retirement plan. Classical music wasn't real to them. It was a hobby that had somehow become a career, but not a serious one. Not like Ethan's work in finance, which they understood, which they could brag about to their friends. I returned to the Mahler score, pushing family complications aside. The symphony demanded my full attention. November 20th arrived. Opening night of our Mahler cycle. The concert hall was sold out, 2,738 seats, every one filled. Season ticket holders, music critics, students, tourists who'd planned their New York trips around this performance. I stood in my dressing room adjusting my white tie in the mirror. The pre-concert nerves were always there, no matter how many times I'd done this. The awareness that 96 musicians and nearly 3,000 audience members were depending on me to bring Mahler's vision to life. My assistant conductor, Grace Kim, knocked and entered. "House is full. The Times critic is here. So is the one from the Wall Street Journal." She smiled. "Also, your brother called the box office. He and his wife want to know if there are any tickets available." I turned. "What?" "They tried to buy tickets for tonight's performance. Sold out, obviously. Box office told them the entire run is sold out, has been for 6 weeks." "Did they leave a message?" "Just that they were disappointed. That they'd wanted to see what you do." Grace raised an eyebrow. "I didn't know you had a brother." Neither did he, apparently. At 8 p.m. I walked onto the stage. The audience applauded. I bowed, turned to the orchestra, raised my baton. For the next 82 minutes there was only the music. Mahler's journey from funeral march to transcendent love. The orchestra responded to every gesture, every subtle shift in tempo and dynamics. We'd rehearsed for weeks and it showed. This was what we did. Together we brought one of humanity's greatest artistic achievements to life. The final notes faded. Silence. Then the audience erupted. Standing ovation. Cheers. I bowed, gestured to the orchestra, acknowledged the principals. This was my life. This was what my father dismissed as playing music. The reviews were extraordinary. The Times called it a transcendent interpretation that reminded us why Mahler matters. The journal praised the orchestra's precision and emotional depth under Sullivan's nuanced direction. On November 23, 2 days before Thanksgiving, I received an email from the orchestra's development director. From Patricia Morgan. Subject: Interesting development. David, heads up. We received a call this afternoon from Vanessa Chin at Chin Development Group. She's requesting a private tour of the concert hall and a meeting with you. She mentioned she's a potential major donor. Her assistant said she has front row season tickets and has attended several of our concerts. Should I schedule something? Vanessa Chin, my brother's wife, who apparently had season tickets. Me. Schedule it for Monday, November 27, 2 p.m. I'm curious. Patricia responded immediately. Will do. She sounded very eager to meet you. That evening Ethan called. David, hey. Listen, about Thanksgiving. It's fine. It's not fine. Vanessa's pissed at me. She found out I told you not to come and she's barely speaking to me. Why does she care? I don't know. She won't explain. She just keeps saying I'm an idiot and I don't pay attention. He sounded genuinely confused. Did you two meet somewhere? Does she know you somehow? I've met her 3 times. At your engagement party, your wedding, and that dinner in May. Right. So what's her problem? Maybe you should ask her. I tried. She locked herself in her office and won't come out. He paused. Can you call her? Smooth this over. No. David, come on. She's my wife. I don't want her mad at me over Thanksgiving. Then you should have thought about that before you uninvited me. I kept my voice neutral. I have a rehearsal. I need to go. David. I hung up. Monday, November 27th arrived cold and gray. I spent the morning in rehearsals, working with the orchestra on Brahms' 4th Symphony for our December program. At 1:45 p.m., I returned to my office to prepare for Vanessa's visit. Patricia met me outside my door. She's early. Been here since 1:30. She's in the conference room with her business partner. Business partner? Lauren Rodriguez. She's COO of Chin Development Group. Patricia lowered her voice. David, I looked them up. They just closed a $200 million mixed-use development in Brooklyn. They're major players in New York real estate. If Vanessa becomes a donor, we're talking potentially 7 figures. I nodded and walked to the conference room. Vanessa stood looking at the framed photographs on the walls. The orchestra on tour in Vienna. A shot of me conducting at the proms in London, the orchestra recording our Grammy-nominated Beethoven cycle. She turned as I entered. She was polished as always. Expensive suit, perfect hair, the look of someone used to high-stakes negotiations. Maestro Sullivan, she said. Thank you for making time. Maestro. Not David, or my husband's brother. The formal title. Of course. And you must be Ms. Rodriguez. Lauren Rodriguez stood and shook my hand. She was younger than Vanessa, early 30s, with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. Mr. Sullivan, it's an honor. We're both huge fans of the orchestra. Please sit. I took the seat across from them. Patricia mentioned you're interested in discussing a donation? Vanessa and Lauren exchanged a look. We are, Vanessa said. But first I need to address something personal. You're Ethan's brother. I am. The brother he uninvited from Thanksgiving because you play music, and I'm a real estate developer. I said nothing. The brother he's described to me over the course of our 3-year relationship as kind of a drifter, who never really settled into a career, and does orchestra stuff as a hobby. Lauren's eyes widened. She looked at me, at the photographs on the walls, back at Vanessa. I have season tickets, Vanessa continued. Front row center. I've attended the New York City Symphony for 5 years. I never miss a performance. She pulled out a program from her bag, our Mahler concert. When I saw the conductor's name 3 years ago, David Sullivan, I asked Ethan if it was the same David Sullivan who was his brother. He said no, couldn't be, his brother just played in local orchestras for extra money. The room was very quiet. I believed him, Vanessa said. Why wouldn't I? He's my husband. When he talked about his brother who played music, I pictured someone who did wedding gigs, taught piano lessons, maybe played in community orchestras. Not the music director of one of the finest orchestras in America. Lauren was staring at her. Vanessa, you've dragged me to these concerts for 2 years. You've made me sit through Mahler and Bruckner and Shostakovich. You've explained leitmotifs and sonata form and the difference between Baroque and Romantic conducting styles. I know. And the entire time the conductor was your husband's brother? Apparently. Lauren turned to me. Your brother is an idiot. Despite everything, I smiled. So I'm learning. Vanessa wasn't smiling. Last week at Thanksgiving dinner that you weren't invited to, my business partner Claire was there. She mentioned seeing a fantastic symphony concert the weekend before. I said I'd been to the same one, the Mahler Fifth. We started talking about it, about how brilliant the conductor was, how the fourth movement made me cry. She paused. Ethan was sitting right there. He didn't say a word. Didn't mention that the conductor was his brother. Just sat there while Claire and I discussed your interpretation of Mahler, your 3 Grammy nominations, the international tours. Vanessa's voice was tight with anger. And when Claire left, I asked Ethan why he didn't mention you. He said, why would I? It's not like David's doing anything important. It's just music. Vanessa, I said quietly, you don't need to. Yes, I do. Because I went home and I looked you up. Really looked you up. Your CV, your recordings, your reviews, your career trajectory. You studied at Juilliard and Curtis. You won the Bernstein conducting competition at 24. You've guest conducted the Berlin Philharmonic, the Vienna Philharmonic, the London Symphony. You've recorded 12 albums. You're being considered for music director positions in Chicago and Los Angeles. Lauren was pulling out her phone, searching. Holy shit, she muttered, reading. 3 Grammy nominations. You conducted at the Nobel Prize ceremony. You've worked with Yo-Yo Ma and Renee Fleming. Vanessa, this is insane. I know. Vanessa looked at me. Your brother has spent 3 years telling me his younger brother is a struggling musician who can't hold down a real job. Meanwhile, you're one of the most respected conductors in the world. I wouldn't say the world. The Financial Times called you the most exciting conductor of his generation. The Guardian said your Beethoven cycle was definitive. You were on the cover of Gramophone magazine. She leaned forward. How does your own brother not know this? Because he's never asked. Because my family thinks classical music is a nice hobby, not a real career. Because they can't brag about what I do at cocktail parties. Kept my voice level. I stopped trying to explain myself to them years ago. So you just let them think you're a failure? I let them think whatever makes them comfortable. I have a career I'm proud of. I have musicians who trust me. I have audiences who connect with the music we make together. I don't need my family's validation. But you deserve it, Lauren said. You deserve to have your brother say, my younger brother is music director of the New York City Symphony, instead of, my brother plays music. Deserve and receive are different things. Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. I'm leaving him. I looked up sharply. What? I can't be married to someone who doesn't see his own brother clearly. Who dismisses your achievements because they don't fit his narrow definition of success. Who's so threatened by your talent that he pretends you don't exist professionally. She stood. I've been thinking about it since Thanksgiving. Since I realized the man I married is either willfully ignorant or deliberately cruel. Either way, it's not something I can live with. Vanessa, you don't have to make that decision because of me. It's not just you. It's what you represent. If Ethan can be this dismissive of his own brother's extraordinary career, what else is he dismissive of? My work. My accomplishments? Other people's value. He picked up her bag. I closed $200 million deals. I'm good at reading people, at understanding motivations. And I completely missed that my husband is fundamentally unable to see value in anything that isn't conventionally prestigious. Lauren stood too. We should go. But David, Maestro Sullivan, we'd still like to discuss a donation. Separate from all this family drama. The orchestra deserves support. I appreciate that. At the door, Vanessa turned back. For what it's worth, your Mahler was extraordinary. The way you brought out the tension between the funeral march and the adagietto, the architecture of the whole symphony, it was masterful. I've seen you conduct 20 times and you get better every performance. Thank you. That means a lot. It should mean a lot from your family too. But since it doesn't know that your actual audience sees you, we appreciate what you do. They left. I sat alone in the conference room, processing what had just happened. My brother's wife, who I'd met 3 times and barely knew, saw my work more clearly than my own family did. And she was leaving him over it. That evening, Ethan called 17 times. I didn't answer. Finally, a text came through. Ethan, Vanessa moved out. She says we're getting divorced. She won't tell me why. Did you say something to her? What happened at that meeting? I stared at the text for a long time. Then I called him. David, thank God. What did you say to Vanessa? Nothing about your marriage. We discussed a potential donation to the orchestra. A donation? Why would she donate to your orchestra? Because she has season tickets. Front row center. She's been attending our concerts for 5 years. Silence. Ethan. That's not possible. She goes to the symphony, yeah, but she never mentioned you. Why would she? You told her I wasn't the conductor. You told her David Sullivan, the conductor, was a different person. He stopped. I didn't think it was you. Sullivan isn't that uncommon a name. Did you ever check? Did you ever Google me? Look at the orchestra's website? Ask me directly. Why would I? You said you worked with orchestras. I assumed you meant as a musician. Violin or something. I conduct orchestras, Ethan. I've been a conductor for 12 years. Music director of the New York City Symphony for 6 years. Before that, I was assistant conductor in Boston. Music director. That's like, what, a manager? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. It means I'm the artistic leader of a major symphony orchestra. I choose the repertoire, hire the musicians, conduct all the major concerts, represent the orchestra internationally. It's one of the most prestigious conducting positions in America. But you're only 38. How can you be in charge of a whole orchestra? Because I'm good at what I do. Because I studied for 20 years. Because I've dedicated my entire adult life to this work. More silence. Vanessa's business partner said something at the meeting. Ethan said slowly. She said I was an idiot for not knowing. Is that why Vanessa left? Because I didn't know about your job. She left because of what your ignorance represents. Your inability to see value in anything that doesn't fit your definition of success. That's not fair. I value music. I listen to music all the time. You consume music. You don't value the people who create it. You don't see their work as real or important. I paused. You told Dad to uninvite me from Thanksgiving because Vanessa's real estate deal was more important than what I do. You didn't even consider that what I do might matter. Real estate is tangible. Buildings, money, jobs created. Music is just, it's entertainment. Music is culture. It's history. It's human emotion distilled into sound. It's Beethoven writing his 9th symphony while completely deaf because he had something to say about human brotherhood. It's Shostakovich encoding resistance to Stalin in his symphonies. It's Mahler transforming personal tragedy into transcendent art. My voice rose slightly. What I do matters, Ethan. It matters to the 3,000 people who come to our concerts. It matters to the students who find meaning in music. It matters to the composers whose work we preserve and interpret. Just because you don't understand it doesn't make it less valuable. I never said it wasn't valuable. You've said it constantly. Every time you introduced me as a musician, instead of by my actual title. Every time you changed the subject when I talked about work. Every time you dismissed my career as less important than yours. Every single time. I heard him breathing on the other end of the line. What do I do? He asked finally. How do I fix this? I don't know if you can. Not with Vanessa. Not with me. This isn't about one conversation or one apology. It's about fundamental respect. Either you respect what I do or you don't. I want to understand. Then come to a concert. Sit in the audience. Really listen. Try to understand what we're creating. The performances are sold out. I tried to get tickets. I'll leave you 2 tickets, it will call. Thursday night, December 7th. Brahms' Fourth Symphony. I paused. Come alone or bring someone, I don't care. But if you come to listen. Not to check a box, not to say you tried, but to actually engage with the music. Okay, he said quietly. Hey. I'll be there. December 7th arrived. The concert hall was full again. Our subscription base plus additional single tickets we'd released. I'd left 2 tickets it will call under Ethan's name. Whether he'd actually come I didn't know. I stood in the wings waiting for my entrance. Grace found me. Your brother's here. Row F, center. He brought your father. My stomach tightened. Dad's here. Apparently Ethan called him. Said he needed to see what you do. I looked out through the gap in the curtain. There they were, Ethan in a suit looking uncomfortable and Dad next to him, reading the program with a confused expression. You okay? Grace asked. Yeah. It doesn't change anything. The music is the music regardless of who's watching. That's the spirit. At 8 p.m. I walked onto the stage. I didn't look at the audience during my bow. I turned to the orchestra, raised my baton, and we began. Brahms' Fourth. One of the greatest symphonies ever written. Tragic, noble, intellectually rigorous. The finale is a passacaglia, a variation form over a repeating bass line, that builds with inexorable logic to a devastating conclusion. We'd rehearsed it for weeks. The orchestra was magnificent. Every phrase shaped, every dynamic calibrated, every structural connection clear. This was why I did this work. These moments when 96 musicians and 1 conductor merged into a single instrument. When Brahms' vision from 1885 became alive in 2024. The final chords. Silence. Then applause, louder and longer than usual. Standing ovation. I bowed, acknowledged the orchestra, bowed again. And for the first time in my career I looked directly at my family in the audience. Ethan was standing, applauding. His face was wet. He was crying. Dad sat still, looking stunned. After the concert, after the post-performance reception with donors and board members, I found Ethan and Dad waiting outside my dressing room. Dad spoke first. David, I had no idea. I've never heard anything like that. That's Brahms. One of the great symphonies. No, I mean yes, but also, watching you up there. The way the orchestra responded to you. The way you shaped the music. That's not playing. That's something else entirely. It's conducting, I said simply. Ethan stepped forward. Can I talk to you? Privately. Dad nodded and moved down the hallway. Ethan and I stood in the quiet backstage area, surrounded by instrument cases and music stands. I didn't understand, Ethan said. I thought I did, but I didn't. Sitting in that audience, watching you work, hearing what you create. David, I've never felt like that listening to music. I've never felt anything like that from anything. That's Brahms. And 96 excellent musicians. It's you too. The way you brought it all together. The way you communicated with just your hands and your body. The way they watched you, trusted you. He wiped his eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry for dismissing this. For not seeing what you do. For being threatened by it instead of proud of it. Why were you threatened? He thought about it. Because you're brilliant at something I don't understand. Because you have this gift, this talent, this career that's completely outside my frame of reference. Because it's easier to dismiss it than to admit that my little brother surpassed me in ways I can't even measure. I didn't surpass you. We just chose different paths. But your path matters more. What you do tonight will live forever. People will listen to your recordings 50 years from now. The work I do, mergers and acquisitions, financial advising, it's important to my clients, but it's not important to the world. He laughed bitterly. Vanessa saw that. She understood that I was so insecure about my own work that I had to diminish yours. That's why she left. Have you talked to her? She agreed to have coffee next week. She said she needs to understand if I'm capable of change or just capable of guilt. He looked at me. Am I capable of change? I don't know. That's up to you. Dad returned. David, can I take you both to dinner? I want to hear about your work. Really hear about it. I want to understand what I've been missing. I almost said no. Almost told them I had plans, that it was too late, that one concert didn't erase years of dismissal. But looking at them, Ethan with his tear-streaked face, Dad with his genuine confusion and dawning understanding, I saw the possibility of something new. Not the relationship we'd had, which had been based on them not seeing me, but something built on them actually trying to understand. Hey, I said. Dinner. But I choose the place. We went to a quiet Italian restaurant near Lincoln Center. Over pasta and wine I told them about my career. Not just the highlights but the whole journey. I told them about studying conducting at Juilliard, about the years of assistant conducting positions where I learned the repertoire and the craft. About winning the Bernstein competition, about the first time I conducted a professional orchestra and felt everything click into place. I told them about being appointed to Boston, about the 5 years learning how to lead an orchestra, how to program seasons, how to work with soloists and guest artists. About the terrifying moment when New York offered me the music director position. I told them about the recordings, the tours, the Grammy nominations that hadn't won but had meant everything anyway. About conducting at the Nobel Prize ceremony. About working with legendary musicians who'd become friends and collaborators. Dad listened intently. When you were appointed in New York, how old were you? 32. And that's young for that position? Very young. Most music directors are in their 50s or 60s when they get major positions. I was lucky. And I'd worked very hard. I wish I'd known, Dad said quietly. I wish I'd been there. Celebrated with you. Been proud of you then, not just now. You can be proud now, I said. If you actually want to understand what I do. I do. God, David, watching you tonight, it was like watching a master craftsman. The precision, the emotion, the intelligence behind every gesture. I've never seen anything like it. Ethan had been quiet. Now he spoke. Vanessa knew. She's been going to your concerts for 5 years. She tried to tell me in her way. She'd come home from performances talking about how brilliant the conductor was, how moving the music was. And I didn't listen. I didn't connect it to you. Because you'd decided I wasn't successful, I said. You'd created a narrative where you were the accomplished brother and I was the artistic drifter. Anything that contradicted that narrative you ignored. Yes, he admitted. And I'm sorry. But David, I want to change that. I want to actually see you. Then you need to do the work. Come to more concerts. Learn about music. Ask me questions. Don't just feel guilty, actually engage with my life. I will. I promise. Dad set down his wine glass. I have a confession. Your mother and I stopped coming to your early performances because we didn't understand what we were hearing. Classical music felt intimidating, boring even. We didn't know how to appreciate it, so we just stopped going. You could have asked me. I would have helped you understand. I know. But it was easier to dismiss it than to admit ignorance. Easier to pretend your work didn't matter than to do the work of learning why it did. He paused. That's inexcusable. You deserved better from us. We talked until the restaurant closed. About music, about my upcoming concerts, about the Los Angeles Philharmonic's interest in offering me their music director position. About the recording contract we just signed for a Beethoven cycle. And for the first time in my adult life, my family listened. Really listened. 2 weeks later, Vanessa called me. David, it's Vanessa. Do you have a minute? Of course. Ethan told me you had dinner with him and your father. That you talked about your work, that they actually listened. They did. Whether it lasts is another question. Fair. She paused. I wanted to let you know, Ethan and I are going to try counseling. I'm not moving back in and I'm not promising anything, but we're going to see if he's capable of real change. Of seeing people clearly, including you. That's good. I think. It is. But David, I also wanted to apologize. I should have said something sooner. When I first realized you were the conductor, I should have told Ethan immediately. Instead, I let it slide because it seemed easier than confronting him about his blind spots. You didn't owe me that. Maybe not. But I owe it to myself to be with someone who sees the world clearly. Who values people's actual accomplishments, not just the ones that fit his preconceptions. She laughed softly. And I really owe it to myself to be with someone who knows his own brother is one of the finest conductors in America. I wouldn't say finest. The Berlin Philharmonic doesn't invite just anyone to guest conduct. Neither does Vienna. You've earned your reputation. Your family should know that. They're learning. Good. Because you deserve that. She paused. Lauren and I are serious about the donation, by the way. We're thinking $2 million over 5 years. For your educational programs and the recording fund. I was quiet for a moment. $2 million was transformative money for the orchestra. That's incredibly generous. It's an investment in what matters. And David? Thank you. For what? For being good enough at what you do that even a real estate developer who knew nothing about classical music became obsessed with it. You changed how I hear music, how I understand it, what I get from it. That's worth supporting. Christmas came. For the first time in years, I went to my parents' house for the holiday. Ethan was there, tentative and trying. Dad had bought a stack of books about classical music and was reading them diligently. Mom had listened to all our recordings and had questions about specific interpretations. It was awkward. They didn't suddenly understand everything about my work. They still asked basic questions, still struggled with why certain pieces were important or what made one performance better than another. But they were trying. And that was new. On Christmas Eve, Ethan pulled me aside. Vanessa might come back. The counselor says we're making progress. She says I'm learning to see outside my own narrow definition of success. That's good. It's because of you. Because confronting how badly I'd failed to see you made me realize how many other things I wasn't seeing. How many people I was dismissing, how many achievements I was diminishing because they didn't fit my template. I'm glad something good came from it. David, I need to ask you something. Your concerts, can I keep coming? Even if things don't work out with Vanessa? Can I actually become someone who understands what you do? I thought about it. About years of family who didn't see me, didn't value my work, didn't understand why I'd chosen this path. And about Ethan sitting in that concert hall, crying during Brahms, finally seeing what I'd been doing all along. Yes, I said. Come to concerts. Learn about music. Ask questions. I'll help you understand. Thank you. He paused. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. I should have said it years ago. But I'm saying it now. I'm so proud of what you've built, what you've achieved. You're remarkable. It was what I'd wanted to hear for years. But hearing it now, after everything, it felt different. Not hollow exactly, but incomplete. Like receiving praise for a performance after the audience had already left. Thanks, I said. That means something. But not enough, he observed. Not yet. But maybe eventually. March brought the announcement I'd been waiting for. The Los Angeles Philharmonic offered me their music director position. 5 years with an option for extension. One of the greatest orchestras in the world. It meant leaving New York. Leaving the orchestra I'd built, the musicians I'd worked with for 6 years, the city I'd called home. But it also meant growth, new challenges, the next step in my career. I called a family dinner to share the news. Los Angeles? Mom said. But you just got established in New York. I've been in New York for 6 years. This is the natural next step. Dad looked at his phone. I'm looking at the LA Philharmonic website. This is a major position. One of the 5 most prestigious orchestras in America, I confirmed. Ethan set down his fork. You're going to say yes. I am. When do you start? Next season. September 2025. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Dad raised his glass. To David. To his remarkable career. To his continued success in Los Angeles. To David, Mom and Ethan echoed. I drank, feeling the strangeness of this moment. My family celebrating my achievement. Seeing it clearly. Understanding what it meant. It had taken 38 years, a broken engagement and a chance encounter at a concert hall. But they were finally looking. My final concert as music director of the New York City Symphony was on August 15, 2025. We performed Beethoven's Ninth, the symphony about human brotherhood, about joy breaking through struggle, about transcendence. The house was packed. Every seat filled, people standing in the back. Season ticket holders who'd supported the orchestra for years. Musicians' families. Critics. Students. And in the 4th row, center. My parents, Ethan and Vanessa, who'd reconciled with Ethan after 10 months of counseling. I conducted the Ninth like I'd never conducted again because in that hall with that orchestra I wouldn't. This was our farewell. The final movement, Ode to Joy. The choir standing, the soloists, the full orchestra building to that transcendent finale. All of humanity united in song. When it ended, the audience stood immediately. Flowers appeared from somewhere. The orchestra stood applauding me. I bowed to them. These musicians who'd trusted me, who'd given everything to the music. I looked at my family. All four of them crying. Ethan mouthed, "I'm proud of you." This time it didn't feel hollow. It felt earned. Not because I'd finally achieved enough for them to notice, but because they'd done the work to understand what achievement meant in my world. Los Angeles welcomed me with sunshine and the challenge of one of the world's great orchestras. The work was exhilarating, exhausting, exactly what I needed. Ethan and Vanessa flew out for my inaugural concert. So did my parents. They sat in the audience at Walt Disney Concert Hall, listening to me conduct Mahler's second, The Resurrection Symphony. After the concert at the reception, a board member approached my father. "Mr. Sullivan, you must be so proud. Your son is extraordinary." "I am proud," Dad said. "And I'm grateful I finally understand why I should be." Later, standing on the terrace overlooking downtown, Ethan found me. "You know what Vanessa said during the concert?" "What?" "She said this is what you were doing all those years we didn't pay attention. This level of artistry, this importance. And we missed it." "You see it now," I said. "Yeah. Finally." He looked at the city lights. "I wish I'd seen it sooner. Wish I'd been there for all of it. You can't change the past. But you're here now. That's what matters." "Is it enough? Me being here now?" I thought about it. About years of invisibility, of family dinners where my work was dismissed, of achievements that went unrecognized. About being uninvited from Thanksgiving because I played music. And about Ethan sitting through counseling, reading about classical music, coming to concerts, doing the work to understand. "It's a start," I said. And starts matter. We stood there together, my brother and I, looking at the city where I'd begin the next chapter of my career. The chapter where my family would actually see it, would understand it, would value it. Not because they had to, but because they'd chosen to learn. And that finally was enough.